£6 million. That's what a farm in Oxfordshire is worth right now, the one the supermarkets laughed at 5 years ago. And the people who run Tesco, Sainsbury's and Morrisons are not laughing anymore, because Clarkson didn't just build a farm, he built a machine that exposed exactly how the British food industry works, who it works for, and who it was always designed to leave behind. And the more you look at the numbers, the real numbers, the more you realise why they hate it. Here is the thing nobody tells you about British supermarkets. They do not buy food, they buy compliance. A British dairy farmer gets 28 pence for a litre of milk, not £28, not $28, 28 pence. That same litre sit on a supermarket shelf for over £1. The margin disappears somewhere between the farm gate and the refrigerated aisle, and the farmer is left holding a bucket and a spreadsheet that doesn't add up. That is not a supply chain. That is a trap with a Union Jack on the packaging. And for 30 years, the people inside that trap wrote letters. They formed committees. They gave evidence to parliamentary inquiries. They talked about fair prices and food security and supporting British farmers, and nothing changed because nothing was ever going to change from inside the system. Then Clarkson walked in from the outside and accidentally filmed the whole thing. Year 1 on the farm, he grows 16 tons of potatoes. He is genuinely excited about this. He thinks farming works the way most things work. You produce something, someone buys it, you make money. Caleb, who has been farming since before Clarkson had a license to drive anything, watches this unfold with the face of a man counting down to an explosion he cannot stop. The supermarkets aren't interested. 16 tons isn't enough volume to bother with, but it's far too much to shift from a roadside honesty box. By the time the shop is built, the potatoes have rotted. Every British farmer knows that story. Not the TV version with a camera crew and a music score, the real version where you spend months growing something properly and the buyer tells you they'll take it at a price that doesn't cover what you spent growing it. That happens every day. On farms, nobody films. In conversations, nobody televises. In losses, nobody tweets about. Clarkson put it on Amazon Prime and 30 million people got angry on behalf of a filing cabinet full of unsold potatoes. That anger is an asset, and he knew exactly what to do with it. Most people think Diddley Squat is a farm shop with a celebrity attached, a novelty, a tourist trap for people who want a selfie and an overpriced candle. Look at the actual numbers and tell me if that still sounds like a novelty. Hawkstone Beer launched in 2021. It started because the farm had surplus barley, the same barley British farmers have grown for centuries and been squeezed on for decades. Instead of selling it as a commodity for almost nothing, Clarkson turned it into lager. The first batch failed a blind taste test against a local brand. Embarrassing. Back to the brewery. Start again. Then the cider had a packaging fault. Bottles at risk of exploding. A public safety warning had to go out. For a normal brand in its first 2 years, that is a death sentence. Sales for the year to March 2025, £21.3 million. Read that again. A beer that failed its own taste test and had to warn customers it might explode is now the 23rd fastest growing private company in Britain according to the Sunday Times, stocked in Waitrose, Morrisons, Sainsbury's. Available in over 2,000 British pubs, the same supermarkets that paid British barley farmers next to nothing for 30 years are now paying a premium to stock a beer made from that exact barley, because their own customers are standing in the aisle asking for it by name. He did not ask them to change. He did not campaign for fairer grain prices. He just added the value himself, created the demand himself, and sold it back to them at a price they had to accept. That is not brand building. That is leverage. Now step back, because this is the part that most people watching the show haven't fully joined up yet. The farm grows the barley. The barley makes the beer. The beer sells in the pub. The pub serves beef and lamb from British farmers who are getting paid fairly because Clarkson is not extracting a supermarket margin from every link in the chain. The show films all of it. Millions of people watch. They drive to Oxfordshire. They spend money in the shop and the pub. That money funds the next thing. Every part of it makes every other part stronger. And none of it requires a single government report, a working group, a parliamentary debate, or a letter to a minister who isn't going to reply. The Farmer's Dog Pub opened in August 2024. 100% British ingredients. Not mostly British, not British where possible. Every single thing on the plate. The beef, the pork, the lamb, the vegetables, the cooking oil, the beer, grown or produced in this country. A Michelin-starred chef called it one of the most genuinely committed supply chain operations he had seen at any scale. On opening day, it employed over 140 people, hundreds queued for hours. It needed a 360-space car park built in a nearby field just to handle the demand. The same West Oxfordshire District Council that spent ratepayer money trying to shut down an unlicensed restaurant and fought a planning battle against a car park. That planning battle became Series 2 and 3 of the show. The council accidentally produced the most effective advertisement for British direct farming that has ever existed. You cannot buy that kind of publicity. They handed it to him. Here is the full picture. 5 years ago, £5.35 from a filing cabinet of rotting potatoes. Today, a £6 million farm, a beer brand turning over £21.3 million a year, a pub with 140 employees and a 360-space car park, and 20,000 farmers standing outside Parliament because one man with a camera crew made the country care about where its food comes from. The British supermarket industry had the land, the money, the supply chains, the data, and 30 years of infrastructure. They had every possible advantage, and they spent all of it squeezing British farmers for another half-penny per litre. Clarkson spent 5 years with a camera, a bad temper, and Caleb's actual farming knowledge, and built something that feels more real to British people than anything that comes out of a distribution centre in Daventry. That is what happens when a system leaves enough people angry for long enough, and one of them is too stubborn to just write a letter about it. So here's what I want to know. Is this the blueprint British farming actually needed all along? Or does it only work because Jeremy Clarkson is Jeremy Clarkson, and nobody else could have pulled it off? Drop it below.